Hi, this is Carol from SkillCheck, and today I'd like to talk about building the sales team. I think it's interesting in self-storage as we've grown, we have more properties that are under one umbrella instead of just individual storage owners having one storage property. So now it seems like there's consolidation. And so what we have is people owning multiple self-storage properties. And when that's true, you really do need to build a sales team. And I'd like to talk to you about that today is how can you build a great sales team? Well, first you have to start looking for people, right? And I found this sign from Australia, which I found very interesting. Wanting a good woman must be able to cook, clean, sew, dig worms, which is critical, right? Especially if you're a fisherman, and clean fish. But must have boat and motor. Please send photo of boat and motor. Doesn't care what you look like. They just want you to make sure you've got a boat so they can go and you can dig for worms. So that's pretty awesome, right? But you know what's interesting about when we look for people? Especially during COVID, it's been very, very difficult. I was sort of asked during COVID to work on a sales team. And so that was pretty interesting because as I go through the process of looking for really good people that are great on the phone, and especially for a call center, you have to think, wow, these people must be on top of it all of the time. Their energy has to be high. They've got to be really great on the phone. So I was looking for that positive personality, that person that has like the gift of gab, that they can just talk with anybody about anything. I guess that's the way to say it, because we have all different kinds of customers. And remember, you're looking also for a person with a really good voice and some vocal variety. So, experience, I tend to like to teach people about storage. Instead of breaking habits, if they've worked at, let's say, public storage, I don't want them to do it the public way. I want them to do my way. So you may not be able to correct some of the things that have already been trained and ingrained in what they do. So think about that. Maybe it'd be easier to find someone that doesn't know about storage and you can train them the way you want them to be, as opposed to picking up maybe some bad habits, things that they don't. Well, that's for sure. Things that they're like, oh, I don't. We're used to doing this late fee calling this day or that day, or I need a script and I read from the script. I'm like, well, I'm not looking for that person that can read from a script. So remember that experience, for you may be or may not be important. I'd prefer to train them myself again. So you know what? I also look for stars. These rock stars. I want people to join the team that are just amazing and amazing people. That doesn't mean they have to do everything that on earth in self-storage, but again, you want to hire stars. And I think when you start off with that, when it comes to hiring salespeople, you may get lots of applicants and they may come off as being amazing or the aces, as they'd say. But when you go through the process and make them go through everything they've asked them to do, it's really important to find those people that are going to serve your clients' needs well. People that have had a lot of sales training and sort of car salesman type, they may not do well in self-storage. We need to have a more of a relationship sales type of person. So one of the things that we're looking at when we look for these teams, we're also looking at a person that's coachable. It sometimes is difficult to find people who are coachable. If they already think they know the self-storage industry and they have worked at these other places, they're like, oh, I don't need to know anything different. I don't need to do anything differently. But again, you may have different ways that you operate than someone else, and you may have want them to answer the phone differently or handle delinquencies differently than they were. So you want to make sure that people are coachable. So the questions that you might ask, and I think this is where you need to deviate from maybe what you've thought about in the past about asking questions. Ask a question that is odd or is, that makes them think and makes them come up with their own answer. I have a couple here that I've used over the years. If you were gifted an elephant, what would you do with it? And I've had, well, what kind of stupid question is that? And I'm like, well, it's my stupid question actually. And it's not so stupid because that was the exact reaction that will tell me something about that person. And I think what's so interesting about that is that I thought, you know what, this person's not for me. Right then I knew. And then I didn't waste my time. I kind of went on. How about sell me a bottle of water? I'd love to hear them, because I would tell you, oh, this water bottle is this, recyclable and the water is minerals in it. And I would try to think of everything that I could to sell that bottle of water. And especially when you're thirsty, you're going to need it. It's in a carry around pouch. You have something plastic to put it in, you can refill it. There's so many things that you can talk about. But if a person sits there like, yeah, I don't know what to say, well, then that is a problem. How about if you were stuck on a desert island and you could take three things with you? What would you take and why? I think for me, again, that's easy. I would take hopefully some kind of musical something and a good book to read, something long and heavy. Maybe for me, maybe the Bible, because it's so much to digest in life. So it's important to just get a feel of something that they're not prepared for and see how they answer it, because it really does help you find out if this person can mold and do and be the way that you want them to be. Give time to train and ramp up. You really do need to think about, you can't just throw them to the wolves. One of the things to do is, especially if you have another store, put them in another store. Allow them to not pick up the phone the first day. Let them watch someone else and hear someone else on the phone and working with customers in the office and taking them out on the golf cart and showing them a space. Let them do all of those things and just watch. The observation time is really good, because if they're doing that, they're not worried that they have to do it yet, but they will think, oh yeah, oh, that was a good idea. That sounded really good. And then after the customer left, the manager that's training them can say, hey, this is what I was doing. And I picked up some trash on the way because I wanted them to know we keep the place really clean. So that person can, during the training process, work with the new person and get them ramped up. But you really need to get a person in your organization to be that trainer. And it really needs to be someone that is not just has a store that does well, but that can actually work with a variety of different people who have different ways that they learn. And then that way they can be the best trainer that you can find, would be someone that could actually work with people in different speeds, slow or fast. And I've seen some trainers that are so fast. I'm like, it's wonderful that you know it that fast, but you're going to have to slow down for someone else that doesn't get it very quickly. And that sometimes happens when they're learning the computer programs that we use, and they're like, wait a minute, where'd you go? You're going too fast. I can't see where you're going. And the person that is really good at doing this, handling the software, but they can't explain it to someone and do it slowly in a way that they're going to learn. The next thing is just not simply use your last manager. If you got a person leaving on bad terms, I'm going to say, or they leaving with not such a good attitude, that attitude is going to go over to the next person. So I want you to be very careful. Try to get someone else to come in and train that person for you. And there are people out in the industry that'll do it. If you can't do it yourself in-house, you can find people that will do that. If you're a large company, it's really important for you to have a training division. You have to have a trainer. Now, it might be someone that's in the home office that does something else, or maybe it's someone out at the site that you've thought was, hey, this person's not only good at their job, but they're good at teaching people also. So that's the type of person we'll put at the store to do training. So all of those are important. But I do, even at National Self Storage, when I started their training, if I had a 10-day training class, when people would come in to Tucson, Arizona, I would train them and then they go back. But then there was times where I didn't have anything to do. So they're like, hey, can you approve all of the petty cash going through? Can you go out and do audits? And that's how I learned how to audit. So there's so many things that trainer can do, and work on the operations manual. Keep that up to date. Make sure everyone's following the procedures that they're supposed to be, because that's important for a trainer also. And remember, an operations manual is a great place to start when you're training. I have probably written 9 or 10. I have one with the Arizona Self-Storage Association. I've worked with Texas on theirs, and I've also worked with the SSA on providing them with an operations manual. So you can find them all over the place. If you can't find them there, we have them at Skill Check also. But I trained from this. And it's sort of a living, working thing, because when you change a procedure, you need to make sure that follows up in the training manual that, okay, now we're using a different procedure. Making sure that training manual is sort of a living accuracy of what's going out on the properties. So I number them a way where we could say 1A, it's now 1A, 1A replaces 1. And then that way you can actually keep track of all the changes that you've made and ask the managers to put the page in and pull another page out to make sure it's correct. So if you have any questions about that, give me a call. I'll help you with all of that. Slackers are interesting because I've I've had quite a few slackers over the years and that I've hired, and I didn't really think they were slacker until I put them in a store maybe that was kind of slow, and all of a sudden this person had all this energy. They're just it saps them out. They like the high pace of a busy office, and then I put them at a slow office, and I'm like, wow, they totally changed by the store that they were at. So remember, great employees don't like to work with slackers. You want to be careful about that. You can't have someone really good and then put them with an assistant manager that just doesn't do anything. And then it's double the work. And sometimes, the assistant manager that's not very good, or the relief manager, they constantly bug the manager saying, oh, this isn't working, and oh, that. So their day off isn't really their day off. You want to be careful about that. So I did nothing today and still got paid. Boy, that I've had a few employees like that over the years, and I'm thinking, you know what? I don't want to be like that. I want to be always in a position where I'm valuable and I'm really contributing, and I like employees to do that too, because it's more fun that way, and the day goes faster, if you ask me. But one of the things that I have learned is firing fast, and that has been something difficult for me over the years. And hiring slow and making sure, especially they're going through all the hoops that they need to go through, and firing fast. But your sales jobs and the process may not be for everyone. And you get them in there and then you realize, wow, this isn't really working for this person. I'll give you a good example of that because I had a girl that really young and super good at selling on site. In fact, she aced, she got a 100 point out of 100 on our on site shop. She just did fabulous when the person came in. She was really interactive. She took them out on the golf cart. She showed them the security and all different things, and she talked to them about what would fit in the space, and she just did a great job. She got 100%. She did fantastic. And then come to the phone, we couldn't get her over 30 out of 100. And so I brought in my staff to my remedial class. I don't think I said that out loud to them, but yes, it was a remedial class, and we went around and practiced answering the phone. And she was sitting next to me, so they went all the way around the conference table, and she was, as she was next to me, she was the last person to go. She goes, I don't think I can do this. I said, well, no, you can do it. We're all here. We've all done it. You can do it too. And she goes, no, I mean, I don't think I can do this job. And I was dumbfounded. I said, wow, why? Why is that? And she goes, yeah, I just don't like talking on the phone. And I said, what do you mean you don't like talking on the phone? She goes, no, I don't mind texting. I text all the time, and I don't mind when customers are here in the office, but the phone really bugs me. I don't ever want to be on the phone talking to someone. It's really hard. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I think my kids are like this too, because I tell my kids when they call me, I'm like, call me on the phone. Don't stop texting me. I'm on the road. Call me. I'm like, all they want to do is just, type it all out and send it to me. And it never comes out quite the same way when it's typed out to you. Either way, other than mom, I need money, that one I clearly get. But when you're thinking about, I thought, oh boy, you know what? I'm gonna have to let her go. Yeah. And she said, yeah, I don't think this job's for me. And she left. And it was, the weird thing about it was I felt good about it. I felt like at least she knew enough to say, you know what, this isn't for me, and I'm sorry. And I also realized I need to make sure that I'm finding people that are good performers and that realize that you are going to be on the phone and in person with people. So you've got to have both ends. You can't really work with one or just the other. So instead of, and looking at those people that just like want a job. And I think that happens sometimes. Like, no, this is not just a want a job, because it takes quite a while to train someone to be really good at this. The other thing is maintenance of behavior. Once you've trained someone, you have to maintain that behavior. And that's just like anything that you want to be really good at, right? So one of the things and that's why I started the mystery shopping, was to be able to say, you know what, even though you're answering the phone, we're going to give you feedback every single month of how you can improve. You can listen to your call, you can look at how to improve, and now you can look at videos or listen to videos and watch videos on how to improve. But that includes, doing walkthroughs, making sure those are correct. You want to make sure you're doing audits of the property, and you have training classes to the continuing education of your people. Also, I think it's a great thing to go to an association or different conferences that are out there, whether it's the state association or the national. All of those things are good. And I even go to these things, and I've been this since 1984. So I'm thinking, and I go to sessions and I'm like, that was really good. And sometimes it's like, well, yeah, I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. Or, wow, that is such a great idea. That is new to me, and I'm going to implement that. Because, and if you can come out even with one or two nuggets, and that also the other thing is just the energy of the people in self storage is really good. People, and like I love self storage, and I just want other people to love it. And the way I do, I mean, you don't have to. I know there's some, I know my kids, my daughter especially, she's like not so much a lover of storage, but my son is. But the funny thing is like she keeps going, she's working at a storage property, and I think maybe someday, hopefully she will love it, but who knows about that. Also remember, when you're out there maintaining things, make sure you're doing rental agreement audits and trying to look at everything around the property to see how it's looking and how it's doing, but maintain the behavior that you're training. The other thing is a base salary plus a bonus. I think over the years, it's been obvious that the stores that do better are the ones that have some kind of monthly bonus. And when you look at bonuses and how effective they are, if you wait to the very end of the year, it's not very influential. And they don't really hustle every single month to try to do well. I like the bonuses based on income, not occupancy, because occupancy is can be, you could be 100% occupied, but bring in money if you were 60 or 70%, which is horrible because you've discounted and there might even be some other problems here. But you want to make sure that you also, make sure you're looking at what's so important, and that's not occupancy. That is the income of the store. And they give away less on all kinds of specials that you might have and things like that. So the other thing is a bonus based on the telephone scores. And I'm a real believer in this because I feel like if they don't do, for what I would say is an 80 or above, then I would say they're not doing the best that they could on the phone. That if you were consistently 80 and above, you're awesome on the phone. And if you're not, then I think why give a bonus and make sure that there's maybe a sliding scale. If you need help, I've got a little Excel spreadsheet I can send you if you'd like one. Just I have my emails at the end. I'll show you that. They also need tools to succeed. And really, this is feedback. You want constant and consistent feedback. And this is regularly. And this is if an area manager goes, you can't just, look and work on their problem. They may say, oh, customer, this has a problem. We have a light out here and we have this here and that here. Wait a minute. But somewhere during this conversation, when you're at the store, you need to make sure you're addressing the employee and how they're doing, how the store is doing, how everything's going together, and it's important to be able to do this. So ask for better ways that you can handle processes too, because you want to make sure that, besides they're doing a good job on the phone, but look at everything and how it's going in the store. Are there things that are cumbersome or difficult? And make sure you're hiring these people who want to grow and improve, not just want to sit behind the counter and never move. Yeah, I call them office rats, that they never want to get out on the property. And then I have some people that love to be out on the property and they don't want to come in. So I don't know, it's hard to find that balance. But you also want to make sure that you act on customer feedback and surveys, because the customers, when they give you feedback, whether it's on any kind of, like I have a hotline, basically a 1-800 number that would come in to our office, and then we answer that. And if it, hey, your manager's not at the store, those kind of things, we're going to be listening to that and saying, uh-oh, there's a problem. We've got we've got to work on that. Also, just if you look at any kind of feedback from customers that ends up on Google, and think about your reviews. Look at those reviews and follow up on them. If you get bad or any kind of complaints about your managers, or them saying, they keep going to the store and it's not open, those things need to be addressed, because something's happening. There's a disconnect somewhere, and you have to make sure as a supervisor, owner, that you're correcting those. And if you're a manager listening to this, you need to be saying, uh-oh, I may have done something wrong, or, well, I thought we put the light in there and I thought it worked. When we put it in, it worked, and now they're complaining about it. So at least address it, but not in a bad way, but in a real positive way with customers. There are other training ideas too, things that you can do to really improve, and that's role playing. And I know people are like, oh, we're gonna have to role play, but it's fun. If you make it fun and not make it where it's a bad thing, then it can be very positive. You also need to listen and review your mystery shopping calls, because I know I've had owners who are like, yeah, my people aren't getting any better. We've used you guys for a year and they're not getting any better. And I'm like, okay, how are the managers when you talk to them about it? And he goes, well, I don't talk to them about it. I said, well, how do they know? I said, when you show them the report, what did they say? He goes, oh, I've never shown them the reports. I'm like, wow, why is he doing this? Just checking to see if they're bad every month? Well, yeah, they're not going to get any better unless someone says, unless they get some coaching, right? They need some coaching. So you could also do like call shadowing with peers and you kind of the listen to learn, and also sales training seminars. All those things are really good. And I think any of you that have ever had a sport or done anything that you like, you absolutely have to practice to get better. You don't do something and then just keep that skill level up for a long period of time. I used to be really good at tennis and singing both. And now I'm like, okay, now I got a bum knee, so I can't play tennis anymore. I can still stay at the back of the court and do pretty well, but I can't move around like I used to. But when you're thinking about the things that you don't do very often anymore, you think, wow, I'm really rusty at this. Yeah, and you have to think about, you have to keep training and working at the things you expect the managers to do. Now, the managers are continually answering the phone at the store, I'm assuming, right? But even though they're answering it, is someone saying, hey, you could improve if you did this, this, and this? And that's really important. And that is directly affecting the bottom line of the storage property. Also, communicate your expectations. Let the employees know what is important. And I think for me, again, I keep coming back to income, because if we go in and say, oh, well, we need all of our stores at 99%, that's what they'll do. But I'm looking for income. I no longer even talk about in the percentage that we are occupied at all. I talk about just dollars. And you also want to talk about and look for the expectations in the customer satisfaction, how they're doing in their mystery shopping, any reviews that they're getting, the property upkeep, and any other cost saving ideas that they may have or that they may bring up to you, and just their customer service in general. Are customers happy with them or not? I have a sticker that went on all of my doors and it said, if you're happy with us, tell a friend. If not, call this 800 number. And we manned that 800 number during the day, but in the evenings it would just record the message, and then we would follow up on it, because it's really important to do that. And remember, learning is fun and can be fun, but you want to try to make the process of learning and improving really good for the employees that you have. You want to inspect what you expect, because if you think, oh, all of this has got to be a certain way, then you have to get out to the store and make sure that it is going to happen. And you want to also communicate with your employees. Managers that have assistants or relief managers, make sure you're communicating with them too. And sometimes you may not be at the store when they're at the store. Leave them some nice notes. Nothing like, you need to do this, 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 of just a list, like you better get this done or better get that. You have to be more positive about it. If you have some extra time, can you make sure you get these things done, or can you do this? So it's really good to communicate. Years ago, I have a story to tell. Years ago, I had a problem with some managers in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. And so I got pulled into the office and they said, you need to get up to Albuquerque. There's some kind of manager and assistant are arguing, and there was a big feud in the office, and somehow the dog got involved. And I'm like, what? So I have to now get on a plane and go figure this out? And they're like, yeah, go figure this thing out. So they were upset. The manager was upset because, and this is, you can tell how old this is. It was with the One Right system when we didn't have a computer, and the manager wanted to use blue ink and the assistant was using a red pen. And I thought, I flew all the way out here because these people are squabbling over a pen, the color of pen. And so I said to the assistant, I said, we do like to have it in, a blue, because the red was a little light or something, that they couldn't see it correctly or whatever. So, and then somehow the dog got involved, and they let their dog in the office, and she was allergic to the hair, and it was just such a big mess. And then finally, I ended up having to let the assistant go. And I told the manager, I said, there's no more arguments about the pins and stupid stuff. There was nothing wrong with this person, and you made some kind of mess of this. So, and then she did admit, she said, I didn't like her from the very beginning. And I'm thinking, why did we hire her? Why did you want her? I thought that she was good, and but you all need to have the same mind, especially if you're an area manager training for the store. You got to let the people have some input. And I did let her have input, but somehow something happened between, the honeymoon and the later part of that relationship. So, but be inspirational. I think that's important to think about when you're having fun and you're learning and you're teaching people, whether you're even managers, you're teaching your assistants, you're guiding your customers, but make it fun. Make the whole thing fun, or else it's just kind of a drudgy day, if you ask me. Well, thank you so much for listening. Again, I'm Carol Mixon from SkillCheck, and I really appreciate you listening. And subscribe, please do that for me. I'm still trying to get lots of subscribes. And thank you again for all that you do for us. And if you would like a free mystery shop, you use this code from the webinar. It's 1029. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any ideas for other webinars, please let me know. I'm happy to have new content. Or if you have any questions, just give me a ring or drop me a line. So at carol@skillcheck.com. And happy renting. Thanks a lot. Bye.